Lloyd Howell is no more at the NFLPA, and now J.C. Tretter's gone. But when you look at the actions that he took, and I think the same thing will apply to J.C. Tretter, whatever the intention was, the results were not good enough. He's seeing guys getting back $30 million a year, and he wants to join that club. Dak Prescott, the best player on the Cowboys. I said no. Micah Parsons is the best player on the Cowboys. This isn't how you treat your best player. It's Jerry Jones. He should be living in the Outer Banks. Seriously. Dude, Jerry, Duck, North Carolina. It's fantastic. Just leave all the inland problems behind. Welcome to the Green Light Podcast presented by BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code GREENLIGHT. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. If that bet loses, you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Just make sure you use bonus code GREENLIGHT when you sign up. Welcome to the show. I'm back. I'm really sorry that I did not say anything about not saying anything. I was on vacation. Kind of pulled the wool over y'all's eyes. Hit you with a Rick Carlisle that was 4 days old. Some 4-day-old Rick Carlisle. Still in date. Rick Carlisle's always in date. Especially when you're trying to go on a family vacation to the Outer Banks for a week. And I did that. And I'll give you my report card for the Outer Banks, fellas.
Yeah, what do we think?
Admittedly, not a beach guy, right?
Never
more
been.
of a rivers guy.
You're like river and lake fella.
You're
Yeah,
like anti.
Hey, the beach. The problem with the beach is nothing changes all day. You look out there, the water is the same. The waves come crashing in. They continue to come crashing in. Nothing changes. People walk in front of you. You got a bunch of shit you got to lug. There's always people at the beach. The better the beach is crawling with people, as opposed to a river, which might have limited access, thereby thinning the herd and increasing the chances that it's just for yours truly. You know, you get to a beautiful spot on a lake or a river. Man, it was hard to get here, but there's nobody here. The best beaches, they're all taken, right? So I've been to the Jersey Shore. I've been to Florida. I've been to the Caribbean. Yeah, I like the Caribbean, all that. But yeah, my thing on beaches is like it's a lot of shit to lug down to the beach, man. It's hard to walk in the sand when you're carrying shit. You know what I'm saying? Fell backwards in my zero gravity chair on the beach this week. I mean, it's not a good look. You know, like fell backwards, fell down. My wife rushed over and was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Like I fell in the sand. Like 18 inches. You know that obnoxious zero gravity chair I have that I bring to my kids' baseball games that people are like, "What the fuck? You going to sleep or you watching your kid?" I'm watching the game, but I've got a lumbar spine issue. I take that thing to the beach as well, and this thing fell down out of nowhere. It happens, right? I had the chair for probably 7 years. It hasn't fallen backwards once. Happened to me at the beach. It was embarrassing. There were people playing can jam to my left. There were some younger women over to the right, not that I was paying attention, but they probably saw me fall in my chair. And to make matters worse, my wife rushes over to check on me, like as if I'm 73 years old, and this happens often, right?
He fell again.
Right. I got mad at her. I was fine. I was going to play it off. I just laid in my chair for a second, like with my feet in the air, like to be like, hey, it's funny. It happens sometimes. And she rushed over and said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I said, "Get away from me." Yeah, anyways, the beach. Beaches suck, man. Most beaches suck. They're too crowded. There's too many traditions that I don't understand, like the norms of the beach, and you feel like an idiot when you do the wrong thing. Or, I mentioned lugging shit down to the beach. I mentioned, the harmful UV rays. I haven't even gotten into that. The sunburn. It feels like the sun's even hotter by the ocean. The water never changes, right? But after a week in the Outer Banks, I am sold on Duck, North Carolina, guys. I found a beach I like.
I was going to ask if there was any positive part to the beach, so that's good that you're found a spot you dig.
Dude, I like the beach. I like the beach in North Carolina. Things are a little more spread out, right? Like things aren't on top of each other. Like you get a little bit more peace and quiet, and there's trees right up to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right? It's not like, and some people listening are our favorites in Philly and elsewhere in that area are going to be like, oh, you're supposed to go to you can't like the Outer Banks more than the Jersey Shore, Avalon. Oh, no, I don't have to. Just because I play for the Eagles doesn't mean I have to like the Jersey Shore more than the Outer Banks. I like the Outer Banks the most. They're at the top of my domestic beach power rankings currently because it's not Florida, but it's full of my people. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like the people at the beach are like people around here. They just drove to the beach. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like it's just there's some hillbillies at the beach. There's some fun-loving dudes at the beach, and there's fun-loving people in New Jersey and Florida, but they're not my people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so I just am a big Outer Banks fan. The proximity was great. The water was beautiful. And I really enjoyed it. I sat on the beach one day for 7 hours.
Nice.
7 hours. It was great. I was like Lloyd, Howell, and Tootsie's. I just stayed there. I just fucking stayed there. So we'll get into that in a second. But I love the beach, man. I do. How many times can I say that? Reed, you're probably going to be... Ask me something about the beach.
Well, I was going to say another great thing about the beach, and specifically the Outer Banks, graveyard of the Atlantic. There's so many cool shipwrecks.
So many shipwrecks, bro.
And they're just right out there, and you can go hunt them, if you wanted to. You can go dive on them, too, and there's great museums that talk about the shipwrecks.
If you weren't afraid of sharks, which I am. Right. So I'm not – listen, I didn't get but more than like knee-deep in the water because I went on one of those websites that tracks great white shark movement.
Contender.
Yeah. In the building. And listen, so it's a sharky place.
Yeah. So Contender
mostly in the
I don't know anything about this app.
Oh yeah, you can
Is it accurate?
So Contender's this shark that would pinged in Florida, and the only time it pings is when it breaches, like its fin pops above water. But it pinged in Florida in January. The next time it pinged was off the coast of North Carolina in June, and it
That's right.
updates all the info that it went from Florida to North Carolina. But early June, it was off the coast of North Carolina, and it hasn't pinged since, so it could be anywhere. But yes, in the last month and a half, there was a great white shark off the coast of North Carolina, and the biggest one, 1,600 pounds, freaking huge.
That's a big dog, especially in those parts. And so, you want to stay out of the water, but I like the beach. Now, listen, I always wonder. This is kind of a morbid thing, but I was like, when I die, like when it's pretty clear that I'm gonna die soon, like, and it's just like, hey, maybe you got like 5 years left, maybe less. It's just, the sun is setting on this little voyage. I always wonder where I'd want to spend my last years. Like, where would old degenerate me be? Like, I've always tried to picture the older version of me. I can see it in the Outer Banks, dude.
Wow.
I can completely see it, dude. Like, I can see me being one of those old beach bums that's just like leathery as fuck, probably ripping darts, still hitting the Outer Banks bars. Like, maybe I'll get into spearfishing. Maybe I'll get into paddleboarding because at that point it'll be like, hey, just take me. I'll be checking the app every day, being like, is that motherfucker here? And I'll get in the water and hope it's my lucky day. But I can really see myself. I saw some like older dude in the water, and he was paddleboarding and shit. And he just looked happy. He looked like he didn't give a fuck about, his grandkids or anything like that, or people more inland. He was like, I'm just here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Salt Life. I will not get a Salt Life sticker.
That was what I was going to ask.
All the people inland, you got to come see me, bro. I'll be in the Outer Banks, man. I'll be in the Outer. I had a lot of fun there, man. And you know what's cool? You get the storms.
Yeah.
I grew up most of my life in Virginia, where we get storms. We get rain. We get all that shit. I know it's not the only beach that gets storms, but that was kind of cool. I watched lightning storms every night. It's great. So that was a dope trip.
Are you any more sold on ocean kayaking? I know earlier this summer you were
Fuck
out.
no, dude.
Okay.
Please. Somebody was like, before we went to Duck, they were like, listen, I know you like kayaking. I know you're not a beach guy. Just go to the sound and kayak around. I'm not a big sound guy. The sound can get fucked.
Agreed. The
like,
sound's a
not
little
into
overrated.
the sound. It's brackish. You know, you could also, there's a 9-foot tiger shark swimming around in there per that same website. My kids saw a water snake on that side. Like, listen, when I'm at the beach, I'm trying to live that beach life. So just not into that, you know? That's bull shark domain.
Yeah. Why would you go over there? There's like, you could get stuck out there because the wind, and you're paddling against the wind. You don't want that. No current. About the Pamlico Sound, a little bit of history in North Carolina, that big old sound down there. The explorer Giovanni de Veranzo, he's the guy who landed first on the Outer Banks. He thought the Pamlico Sound was the Pacific Ocean. He thought that little strip was the only thing separated the Atlantic and the Pacific. So he rolled on back. He's like, I found it. I got it.
So it turns out dudes back then didn't really know where they were going.
No. Not
you
at all.
know?
They're just
including
sailing.
some of the more well-known dudes.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe Lloyd C. Howell might end up on the banks of North Carolina with you one day.
That's what we call a transition in the biz, Reed. I appreciate you. Yeah. Well, listen, that's one of the things that happened like Thursday night. I was sitting at dinner with, the couple we went down there with, and I got the notification for Lloyd Howell stepping down. And I was like, did you? And I started to like bring it up, but I was like, there's no fucking way anybody at this table has heard anything about it, including my wife, who might pretend from time to time to listen to the podcast. She hasn't listened to the podcast. She has no idea. You know, I told her, I tried to tell her about Lloyd Howell like 2 days later to see if maybe the headline had made it across her desk, so to speak. And she was like, yeah, is this something you talked about on your podcast? So, you know, it just speaks to the frustration in my world over the last couple of weeks of being like, I know this thing, and players and non-players alike, like it just doesn't seem to be gaining the traction, even as Lloyd Howell steps down and now JC Tretter is out. Like it just doesn't feel like a top of the newspaper thing, right? And so I don't really have anybody to talk to about it, right? Like, unless I called one of you guys. So it's not something I'm bringing up at dinner parties. And certainly like as the notification showed up on my phone, I was like, man, this is big news, but I got nobody to fucking talk to. I'm not even going to try to bring this up at dinner. Like there's no way. This is just too inside baseball, right? So I'm assuming that people who have watched this show, listened to the show over the past couple weeks, know what we're talking about here. We're talking about all the turmoil at the NFLPA. We're talking about, a shadowy arbitration hearing, a shadowy onboarding process for Lloyd Howell, a shadowy selection process. It's just a bunch of shadows. It's a shadowy time at the NFLPA. And you can catch up on that, listen to any number of Pablo Torre Finds Out podcasts, or going back and listening from about 10 days ago. Our Friday show, the week before last, details some of the latest controversies that Lloyd Howell was mired in, surrounding consulting firms that he was also acting on behalf of, private equity firms that he was consulting for, big conflict of interest, yada, yada, yada. We know. But the latest thing here is that after all that, he finally stepped down because of some strip club bills. Is that basically what happened? Like all the substantive shit that was coming to light, and maybe eventually it was going to happen regardless. I don't think he had a choice, that eventually he was going to have to step down for not having, at least outwardly, the player's best interest at heart in action. He can always say, hey, my intent was never X or Y. But when you look at the actions that he took, and I think the same thing will apply to J.C. Tretter, whatever the intention was, the results were not good enough. At best, he was bad at his job. At worst, he was playing for the other team effectively. And so the details on Lloyd Howell are that, and this stuff's the juicy stuff, right? Has nothing to do with hiding an arbitration process that from players who are negotiating contracts and a constituency that needs to know this stuff. An arbitration process that showed that the NFL was colluding against players when it came to guaranteed contracts and so on and so forth, all that stuff. That didn't make headlines, but the juicy shit always hits. And the juicy shit here was that he charged the union for two visits to strip clubs. This is just, I got to go through this. Will you guys let me go through this? I know this is like a Big J journalism topic, but I want to go through this. Lloyd Howell, in 2023, paid $738 for a car service that picked him up at Miami International Airport, I would assume, unless he landed in Fort Lauderdale.
He did. It was Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, he landed in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
So how can somebody map quest for me? It's not really a verb anymore, but can you map quest for me how far it is from Fort Lauderdale International Airport to Tootsie's, the Gentlemen's Club in Miami Gardens, Florida? I only ask because I've never gone straight from the airport.
It's a quick 20-minute drive.
That sounds right. Again, usually it's not my first stop. I have been to Tootsie's. Okay, so hand up. But I, for one, have never been like, driver, pick me up at the airport and take me straight to Tootsie's. He got picked up at 10:26. He got picked up at 10:26 p.m. There was only one stop on the manifest. He was dropped off at 6 a.m. in the greater Miami area. So he spent, I don't know, 7-8 hours at Tootsie's. Wouldn't be the first guy. There is some fantastic food at that establishment. I mean, they really have the cuisine part of it down. They have the other thing down as well. But he put in 8 hours at Tootsie's on the NFLPA's dime. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
And the driver sat outside the whole time.
Yep.
Waiting. Unreal.
Golly. Couldn't invite the guy in for a steak dinner and a shoulder rub. You can get both there. So 2025, February 21st, as they're hiding the results of an arbitration process that concluded that the NFL basically colluded, ownership colluded with each other to curb guaranteed contracts. Right? This is right as that's happening, right?
Yep.
Magic City, Atlanta, Lloyd Howell. There's nothing wrong with going to a titty bar, okay? Some hardworking women in there, and they got bills to pay. There's nothing wrong with that. I am not implying that there's anything wrong with that. What I am implying is that is not a company line item. $2,426, various ATM withdrawals. When you see the various ATM withdrawals, that means that they have my boy Lloyd Howell in the camel clutch, bro. Various ATM withdrawals. You either bring cash or you take it out in one big sum. And if you got a max on the thing, you might take it out in identical, right? I've seen guys taking it out in identical increments. But when you're like 500, 300, 200, 300, you're a poor negotiator, my brother. That insult to injury, probably not the guy we want leading the NFLPA. You talk about a bargain. You're not driving a hard bargain. And Magic City, another great establishment, may or may not have been in there during the day shift one time just to get the lemon pepper wings. fantastic. But I know the lemon pepper wings don't cost $2,426 at Magic City. Now, listen, he's only a man. But needless to say, this was like the cherry on top. And 10 years prior, dude, it has also come to light. And what I just talked about, that was unearthed, right? Like he didn't say, hey, I'm gonna run up the company card at a couple titty bars. He was like, I'm gonna run up the company card at a couple titty bars and keep it secret.
Yeah.
Which is a good move because 10 years prior at Booz Allen, it had come to light that the guy running the NFLPA filed an expense report for going to a titty bar in Manhattan. The next day, he was like, hey, y'all, can y'all take care of this? Got a bunch of lap dances last night, and I think it should be on the company. So that, to me, it's not even the action, it's the audacity and the lack of, like, critical thinking where you're like, maybe Booz Allen won't like this.
Yeah. Just tried to slide it through the expense report.
I don't think. I mean, this is 10 years ago, but there's no statute of limitations on me judging somebody's critical thinking skills.
Well, his colleague got fired for it, and he was reprimanded.
And he was reprimanded, which to me, I love that. I love the usage of that word because I'm always like, what does that reprimanding sound like?
Hey, man, you can't, like, come on.
Give me your wrist, Lloyd. Put your wrist on the table.
They'd have to wash it first. They'd be like, I don't know where that wrist was last night. Wash your hands.
Yeah, he smelled like strippers, man. He smelled like baby powder and cheap perfume and singles. You know? So anyways, this is more like we're in the movie stage. And I will get to the most serious point. And I know like some people watching might be like, don't you want to be more serious about that? Well, sometimes things are so fucking cinematic that you gotta, I mean, like, hey, we're here. So Deshaun Elliott tweeted. Deshaun Elliott said, quote, he had brought a BBL bandit to the golf trip last year. On Twitter, on X. BBL is an acronym, I believe, for Brazilian butt lift. Is that not true?
I thought it was something different, but both of them
What is
apply.
BBL?
I thought it was respectfully
BBL Drizzy.
Big Booty Latina.
Oh, is it Big Booty Latina?
That was my understanding, but I hadn't heard
You can
yours.
tell I don't
Both
look
of
at
them work
porn.
in this situation.
What did I say? Brazilian butt lift?
Yeah. All right, but yeah, in most contexts, BBL stands for Brazilian butt lift.
Damn, Reed. Talk about incriminating yourself.
I think
Is that what comes up in
Bo
the
told
search?
me about it one time. It must have been Bo. I think Bo.
Okay, JC.
I was actually, Reed and I were on the phone when this broke, and I was like, what is a BBL bandit? Just Reed was my source.
Can I say something? Now I'm a happily married man. But I can comment. I think I have the authority to comment. I'm not a big BBL guy. It's a little much. You know? Doesn't look natural to me. BBL, image search.
Private browser.
Fine.
I just am
You
not.
want
I'm
me to
not.
look it up? Fine.
I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. Like, you know, like it's just not my thing. You know, and I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying when it's like, you know, you can tell that somebody jammed a bunch of 2,000 thread count Egyptian cotton body pillows in there, just like, it just looks like something happened. It doesn't look, it's not for me.
Ain't
right?
what God gave you.
Get under the bar, some squats, Stairmaster, something like that. I'm not a BBL guy. So anyways, that was Lloyd Howell. Lloyd Howell is no more at the NFLPA, and now JC Tretter's gone. And I want to tread a little more carefully here because he is a player, right? Like, however we ended up here, whatever you think of the Jonathan Jones article that I'm about to bring up, he's a player, okay? Like, we're supposed to stick together in the whole thing, but I just don't think he did a good job. I mean, at best, he didn't do a good job. At worst, he was complicit in some of this stuff, right? And he was self-serving in some of this stuff. And, listen, if Tretter, it was more the latter than the former, and somehow he's a victim in all this, which I think is very unlikely, as it kind of was outlined in that Puff piece that I read this week about his resignation, then I'm sorry. But I'm sleeping just fine at night, insinuating that he should no longer be part of the equation, like, leading up to this. Like, I'm not saying it had anything to do with this podcast, but, man, Tretter turned into Andrew Schulz. He was like, I didn't vote for this. I don't know what happened. I don't. Oh. JC Tretter's gone. And honestly, the way the timeline went on this is like Lloyd Howell stepped down. And then, so I'm thinking like, hey, good deal. Gonna see a shakeup. Then I'm seeing like a Diana Rossini tweet that's like, hey, it's down to 2 candidates. JC Tretter's one of them, and supposedly the executive committee favors him. And I'm kind of wondering if he has like naked pictures of people, because this just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people. I think players, media members alike, but evidently not the executive committee. And maybe those were his guys, because they've been together and they've been in the trenches and they've led this search for Lloyd Howell, and they've hung in there through a lot of stuff that I'm not privy to. But I think the executive committee, if they were pro JC Tretter, they either know something I don't know or they're wrong on this one. Now, by the time I got home and I'm getting ready to do this podcast, I read the Jonathan Jones article, which of course outlines why he stepped down. Okay. And JC kind of framed it in the context of like, listen, this is getting hard for my family. This is too hard for my family. Bro, you played for the Browns. All right. Like, a little levity here, but like, come on, dude. This has barely picked up national steam. I'm surprised that action's even been taken, as kind of like inside baseball as this story is. I understand, like, when your name starts getting dragged through the mud, it can be hard for you. But to me, it stinks like my head's got to roll, and I'm trying to craft the perfect PR strategy to exit stage left with my dignity. And I think he put a little, neither here nor there, I think he put a little too much dip on the chip. I would have just said, hey, even if I thought I was wronged, I would have said, hey, I got to step down, and then cleared it up in like an interview. I thought that was like, it's almost like incriminating. Like, bro, like breaking up with a girl before you know she's going to break up with you, and then being real extra about it. He said he felt like Tyrion Lannister. He felt like a Lannister, is what he said, right? Remember when Tyrion was accused of killing Joffrey, but he wished he did?
He said, I wish I had done all these things you're accusing me of. It'd make it a lot easier.
Honestly, like, and here's the point. Like, he went through some details about, hey, what happened in the search for Lloyd Howell, right? Like, and he's kind of distanced himself from the arbitration process. He's distanced himself from the Lloyd Howell search in a sense that, like, he ushered him through the door, right? Like he's like, hey, listen, a lot of this was left up to the board. In fact, there was a straw poll when it came down to two candidates, one of them being Lloyd Howell. Candidate 2, by the name of White, came out on top in that straw poll, 10-1. I was one of the people that voted against Lloyd Howell in this straw poll before the executive committee took it to the board, right? Although we never made any suggestion to the board. Like we never made that straw poll public to the board. We never walked in and said, and I think this is how it should go. Hey, fellas, you got to make this decision, right? You just interviewed 2 candidates. Tell me what you think. All right, now I'd like to make you aware of something. The people who have been most exhaustively involved in this search process and know this guy like the back of their hand voted against him 10-1. So I just heard what you thought of the interview process. Here's some pertinent information from the people who have been most heavily involved, right? That didn't happen. In retrospect, maybe he wishes he'd have done things differently. There was kind of like an air of that in the Jones article where it was like, yeah, I could see how maybe the search but to me, the entire problem here, and we could parse through the semantics of it. We could talk about this, that, and the third. You could say, hey, listen, JC, you either fix the search, right, or you ran the search bad enough that it looked like you fixed the search. So either way, you're probably not the guy for the job. There was, of course, the grievance that the NFL filed because of what he had to say on the McAfee show about faking injuries and that whole thing. You can go read up on that. But it's a sloppy tenure. And I think whether or not, the path to his resignation was paved with good intentions or bad intentions, here we are, and it's probably a good thing that he's stepping down. And probably a good thing. It is a good thing, right? And so it's not even important to go backwards and be like, was he this like clandestine figure? Was he like an all-out villain, or was he just a little bit incompetent for a guy that went to Cornell and probably in his assessment of things had the player's best interests in mind and all that stuff, but like, it didn't bear out in the process. It didn't work. Lloyd Howell wasn't the right candidate. His transgressions, his shady behavior, and I'm not even talking about the strip clubs. That's just the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. But like everything else, the lack of information, lack of transparency, just runs counter to what the NFLPA is supposed to be. And so that guy is gone. And there's no ifs or ands or buts about it. I don't think he had the best interests of the players in mind. J.C. Tretter, we don't even need to go back and litigate that. The point is this. There's something wrong with the process when about 12 players have all the information and the other 1,588 seem to have none, right? And so if you had any hand in crafting that process, you're cooked too, in my book. Like, that's not the way the NFLPA should be. And I have no idea, I don't have all the norms down. I don't know what it's always been like or this, that, and the third. But people that have been heavily involved with the PA for a long time are up in arms about this thing. The memo that went out to players about J.C. Tretter was scathing. Okay, so I'm kind of kid-gloving this thing. I could be like, hey, yeah, fuck out of here. I'm kid-gloving a little bit. I'm giving him plausible deniability on a couple things where it's just not important anymore. What's important, though, now is that players are at an inflection point. And it's a bit of a crossroads, right? Because you don't know how many times, and I've talked about this recently, and I'm glad that the PA, if nothing else, is moving quickly, right? Like to take action, where all of a sudden we're going to have an interim president, and we're going to get our ducks in a row and all that stuff. And players and media members have made enough noise. The noise has reached players. There seems to be somewhat of an internal, I don't want to say a mutiny, but like, there's enough unrest that we're sitting here with 2 resignations, quote unquote self-imposed. This is a point in the timeline where if you're a player, and we should pay attention to every issue, right? we are always really good at being plugged in on the issues. Well, the owners want us to play 18 games, guaranteed money, like the big issues, right? Again, it kind of mirrors what we're talking about in our government at different times, at the U.S. government, right? Like where we're like, hey, the issues, anybody can digest them. That doesn't mean they're going to have a good take on them or a grasp of the nuances within the issues. But what we can't do is continue to have no fucking idea, not even a clue, how the mechanism that acts on our behalf as players is run or how it's structured. We need to move away, not move away from caring about the issues. We have to care about the issues, but we need to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And as a former player, I say it's really about the guys that are playing right now, maximizing their window to play one of the most brutal sports in the world. Okay? Takes years off your life. It should be a business for the players that put helmets on every Sunday. And they don't owe anybody anything. And to me, if there's any positive that comes out of this, and I've been talking about it for 20 minutes, it sounds like chaos, and it might be chaos right now. But sometimes things need to get worse before they get better. And I'm hopeful that if anything comes out of this, players will pay more attention. Pay more attention. And they will understand the mechanisms of this thing that's supposed to be acting on their behalf and isn't, or hasn't been, at least in the recent timeline. And so hopefully we'll come out of this and say, let's get our shit together. Let's be more transparent. It's a union. It's supposed to be a democratic process, right? It's supposed to be more transparent. What's less union than saying, hey, only like 10 guys are going to make this decision? And you don't need to know. Like, it's a need-to-know basis kind of thing. You don't need to know. I'm not going to tell you about the arbitration on collusion. I'm not going to tell you about, and I don't think the grievance filed by the NFL was really publicly traded knowledge. Players faking injuries. It was a J.C. Tretter slip-up on the Pat McAfee show. And he said it was tongue-in-cheek, but, like, whatever it was, we need to know. And so I don't think it's like a Pope thing where there's like white smoke over the next couple days or anything like that. I think they're intentionally putting a successor in that's going to be gone in a couple months, so that to ensure that, hey, we're going to have somebody acting in the best interest of the players and not in their personal interests in this time of crisis. Because it is a time of crisis, dude. The union looks foolish. And I'm sure there's some guys watching who are like, Chris, you're doing too much. You don't know the details. Well, excuse me for fucking reading up all the available information. Maybe you should counter that with some other information if this isn't the case. It looks like a shit show. Get it together. Not for me. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I care. My life's going to be good. I'm done. I've made my money. I don't like seeing our union appear to be the weakest mechanism in pro sports, especially when we have the least leverage. And so I'm just hoping we as players can get this right. And obviously I don't stand to gain as much as some of the guys who are in the battle right now, but it's like, come on. And the owners feel this. NFL owners feel this. Can you read me the Jerry Jones quote? Can somebody read me that Jerry Jones quote today talking about Micah Parsons? Is that available?
Just because we sign him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year, seriously. I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year in Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about just as a player does when you're thinking about committing and guaranteeing money.
Yeah. There are a lot of things players should be thinking about when they sign with an NFL team. Like, you're signing the rights for your talents away for a period of 4 or 5 years in the midst of a finite window of earning and experiencing the joys of playing pro football, and you're going to sign with the Cowboys? Like, team that hasn't been in the fucking NFC Championship in almost 30 years? Like, you talk about considerations, brother. Like, you talk about considerations. How about, like, mortgaging your future to play for the Dallas Cowboys? That's a consideration I might make. But I think why Jerry seems so pressed to even bring that up, like, and it's full of, like, shoddy logic, and he doesn't have the facts right because Micah missed 4 games, not 6.
And he made a Pro Bowl last year.
And he played his ass off. And above all else, Micah Parsons is the best player on that team. You know what my son asked me the other day? He's 6. He doesn't know yet. But he's like, hey, who's the best player on the Cowboys? I think maybe he said, is Dak Prescott the best player on the Cowboys? I said, no. Micah Parsons is the best player on the Cowboys. Another kid was like, what about CeeDee Lamb? No. Micah Parsons is the best player on the Cowboys. This isn't how you treat your best player at all. Now, I know that internally, maybe Micah's annoyed some people at times with his podcast or with some of the things he's had to say or whatever. I don't know everything. Like, fuck. I don't know what the temperature is like in that building, but I'm pretty sure most players, when they see that clip, are like, what the fuck are you doing, Jerry? Like, it just,
right.
It doesn't make any sense. And all it does is it reeks of, like, I'm wounded. So, yeah, I mean, Jerry's feeling it. You could tell he's a little bit irritated by this whole thing. It's going to be interesting to hear owners speak over the next, 4 to 6 months when these things come up. Because I do feel like for the first time, and thank God for them, the NFLPA is in disarray, but they got kind of caught with their pants down a little bit.
Right.
Now, what does that mean to them? They fucking colluded to keep Cap out of the game. Like, they got away with scot-free. I mean, no problem. Like, it was clear. It was pretty clear to me. I guess there was no smoking gun per se. But, and poor Cap. I mean, he just continues every year. It's like an annual. Kaepernick's still training somewhere. Dude, it's over now. But, like, the NFL fucked you, and everybody knows that. I mean, not everybody knows that. Some people will tell me in the comments that absolutely it's all explainable. But, like, the NFL, even as bold as they are generally in the past, like, this is kind of a turning point where it's like, I thought we had all the media bought. Who's Pablo Torre? Like, yeah. And how did this become a national story? We were supposed to crush this. We had our guy running the PA and everything, like, and they're still dealing with this. So I don't know, man. I don't know if owners are feeling pressed, but if it were me, I'd feel a little bit pressed. And if I were Jerry Jones, I'd feel real pressed because team hasn't been doing a lot of making too much noise late into January, and a whole generation of people grew up thinking they were the cream of the crop. And so it makes for good TV. It sure does. But other than that, I don't feel like Jerry's doing a hell of a job here, a bang-up job. But he did say it's not all sunshine and glory holes. And sometimes you got to pay your best players. And so that I guess that's what he was talking about. But you don't act like that. You don't talk like that about your best player. And quite frankly, like, the logic just doesn't hold up. Like,
right.
Like as if they're the only ones taking risks.
Right.
In entering into a contractual agreement with a player. Come on, dude.
And he said on top of that, he went after Trayvon Diggs and Terrence Steele.
That's fucking crazy, dude. It's crazy.
He said, frankly, should we have waited on Diggs and Steele, insinuating that he should have.
Yeah, the guy, listen, it's Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones is only going to get more entertaining and or self-incriminating and or, like, just ridiculous as time goes on, right? Like, he should be living in the Outer Banks. Seriously. Dude, Jerry, duck North Carolina. It's fantastic. Just leave all the inland problems behind, right?
On the other side of that bridge.
On the other side of that bridge. So here's another thing that is football news. Terry McLaurin. And you know what? Terry McLaurin, who's in the middle of a contract dispute of sorts, right? You would call it that. I mean, he's up in a year and he wants to get paid, and he's going to be 30 in September. So he's staring his mortality in the face, even though he's been productive and hasn't missed, a single game in like 4 or 5 years, 4 years, I think.
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years, no missed time, model citizen, great teammate. Like, everybody loves the guy.
5 straight 1,000 yards.
Until 5 straight 1,000-yard season, just tremendous, consistent production, even in shitty situations, right? And now the situation's great. And the sick joke is like, and this is what happens when you come in the league and you're 23, and it happened to me, and you're a little bit older. Like, your prime goes fast, quick, right? Like, it's one of those things where you look up and you're like, damn, I'm 28. I feel like things just started. George Karlaftis just got paid like $90 million. Kid's 23 or something. He's been in the league for 24. He's been in the league what feels like 5 years.
Yeah.
Probably has only been 3. But how long has George Karlaftis been in the league approximately?
3 years.
3 years. So get somebody like that, you think, hey, it doesn't matter how old a player is when you draft him. Well, to the player, it kind of matters, right? Like, you might not get as many big contracts. Now, he had a big deal that he signed a couple years ago, but he has, and probably could argue this, outplayed that deal. He's seeing guys getting back $30 million a year, and he wants to join that club. Like DK Metcalf and him, although he's 2 years older, same production, pretty much since they entered the NFL. DK's caught more touchdowns, but it feels like to me, if you ask most people who's the better pure wide receiver, I'd say probably McLaurin, right?
Yep. And
DK's a freak show and good player, man. He's had some really productive years, but like, I guess if I'm Terry McLaurin, I'm saying, hey, what gives? Like, I'm making like $23 million a year, whatever that is.
Yep.
I'm looking at some of my peers who have been at it the same amount of time, and they're getting the bag, but he turns 30 in September. And so what happens is you start thinking, fuck, man, like, I'm going to be going into year 31 next season trying to get a deal done with somebody. And if I'm going to say, fuck the Commanders, how good is my market? Like, I don't want to get hurt. I haven't missed a game in 4 years, but like, law of averages, that sort of thing, like, you want to get paid. And I totally understand it. This is the way things go in the NFL, right? We're here 100 times every year, but it just feels like, to me, this is a unique situation because you have a player who feels like he's not been in the league a super long time, but he's turning 30 this September, and not quite to the degree of the way we do running backs, but the NFL kind of puts labels on people as they turn 30. And wide receiver is one of those positions where you kind of plan for a regression. And he probably has leverage because there's nobody in that wide receiver room. I don't want to say nobody, like Deebo Samuel's there. They've got a couple guys like Luke McCaffrey. They brought in that Noah Brown. Didn't they they drafted a kid that we talked to Dan Quinn about. It's supposed to be the Diami Brown replacement.
Jalen Lane from
and maybe the lack of movement, I don't know, get conspiratorial here, but that's kind of the way things are right now, is maybe they like that kid so much that they're like, Terry's a little more expendable. He's going to be wide receiver number 1. Like, I don't know. We haven't watched guys play. Right. But I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to the fact that he's going to be 30. Washington don't want to give him the bag. They want to make sure it's affordable. Like, hit me with that list of guys 30 plus. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, so these are your highest earning receivers in their 30s per year price. So Tyreek, kind of an outlier. He's 31, making 30 a year.
He's the only one. over
Only
30
one.
making 30.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Out of the 9 guys in that 30 mil club, he's the only one in his 30s. And then, I mean, you look at the rest of like 30-year-old receivers. McLaurin's actually at the top of the group at that 23 number. And then it's Ridley at 23, Devontae Adams at 22, Diggs at 21, and Mike Evans is making 20 and a half, which is pretty wild with how productive he's been.
Yeah, it's a hell of a bargain. But it's hard to be like, hey, okay, well, tell me some of the other 30-year-olds what they're making. And of course, timing plays into a lot of this, right? And you're up now, or you're up in a year, and you want to make the most of that timing. But Mike Evans is just a stalwart, dude, and he's making $20 million basically. And there's other guys that it's harder to justify against, but you negotiate on the other end of that spectrum. You negotiate on the guys who are making more than you. And I think DK is a contract for sure that he's going to want a comparable deal. If I had to guess, I'm not saying he wants to make more than DK, but he's a guy that probably thinks, hey, and another thing is like, it's the compounding issue of like, I've been here for breaking my back for this team, which has been dog shit for much of my tenure. The backdrop is one of the most dysfunctional organizations in pro sports for most of my career, right? Which I think also can sway the court of public opinion on a guy because you're like, look what he's been through. And he has. Trust me, as a guy who played 8 years in St. Louis and on a smaller scale was probably one of those guys that when I left, they were like, oh, I'm really sorry to see him go because he put in so much hard work and production here on shitty teams. Then I got to win 2 Super Bowls. I got lucky. That's not guaranteed for anybody. Like the nightmare scenario for Terry McLaurin is like he leaves and they ascend, and he's got to watch that, dude. Like, so I know it's easy to say Terry's got the leverage, but I kind of feel like psychologically, and I know it's business and not psychology, but it plays in. Washington's probably like, he doesn't want to miss this. Who wants to have that kind of FOMO where you wait 5-6 years for an actual quarterback and, the second coming of whoever shows up, who I think is going to be good for a long time, okay? And I've got to leave this guy and watch him throw dimes to somebody else? Like, I earned that, right? Like, I earned that opportunity. And I think Washington knows he feels that way. So I think they know he wants to be there. And if I had to guess how this ends, because he's not even talking about a trade, like, and it's kind of the thing where it's almost better to be an asshole coming into these things, right? Like, you would think the team would be like, well, you're a great guy, so we'll take care of you. But they're more afraid, right, of the guy that's going to go nuclear, or the guy that will actually hold out, or the guy that will be a huge dickhead because he's been that way for the better part of a decade or something. Like, that's not the case here. The Commanders might sit there and think like, he's a model citizen. We don't have to come too far off our position. He'll want to play football he's a great teammate. He'll want to play football for this football team. And I think the truth is that he will. And I think they will get a deal done. I think it'll be reasonable for both sides, right? I think ultimately both teams, you don't want a negotiation where one side's really happy and one side's not, right? Because then somebody, there's a winner and a loser. You want 2 people to walk away feeling a little shitty about it, but good too, right? And I think that's what's going to end up happening here at some point.
Well, and if you're the Commanders too, on the flip side of that coin, yeah, Terry might not come off his spot, but how willing are you to, coming off an NFC Championship game appearance and finding this tremendous rookie quarterback like you mentioned, how willing are you potentially to lose that piece that obviously had great chemistry?
2 schools of thought here. 2 schools of thought. One school of thought is we don't want to fumble the bag. We've got this kid we think is generationally good. And the last thing we want to do is take a number 1 away from him, right? A guy that he likes, a veteran presence, 1,000-yard receiver, maybe not capital E elite, but that's a word we throw around too much. he's one of the best 10 receivers on the planet. Maybe, yeah. I haven't ranked him. I haven't done any tiers this offseason or power rankings, but I would think he'd be in there, tail end of that. All right. The other school of thought is Jaden Daniels is that fucking good. It doesn't matter. That's the other school of thought. And I tend to, side with, I'm more the former than the latter, where it's like, hey, if he's that fucking good, then give him everything. If he's not that good, take a break on the acquisitions, take a break on the investment. That's kind of the way I think about young quarterbacks. Like if we've got to hit the reset button, like let's not throw the kitchen sink at making, oh God, I hate to pick a name out of the air here, but like let's not invest heavily in Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh or something like that. But I'm kind of a school of thought like, hey, if the guy's good, give him everything. It's that whole rookie. You already went out and got Laramie Tunsil, and maybe they think, hey, the offensive line's improvement is gonna, we're gonna have to take something off the table elsewhere. But I think you can have it all.
He's firmly in their plans. Like that was part of the logic with the Debo addition too, is knowing you have that perimeter piece where Debo can kind of fit in, work the middle of the field, and those kinds of things. So they totally want this resolved. I always think it is interesting the way players approach this, Chris, like you were talking about. It made me think of like how Trey Hendrickson's kind of gotten screwed here trying to do what's best for the team, the way he's approached it, and they haven't taken care of him. And like it continues to drag out. Whereas I agree with you, like maybe if you're more firm, maybe it plays out differently. But I don't know.
Yeah, do some asshole thing, man. Like, like if you're really good, be an asshole knowing that you need to negotiate in a year. If you're going to I'm not really serious about this. Somebody's going to take me seriously. But like, if you're too nice and if you're like too good a teammate, like they'll eventually take advantage of you.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because that's the way I prefer my wide receivers, like to be fucking great team players, great players, hard workers, all the things they say about Terry McLaurin. That's how I want my football players to be, right? Yeah. But when it comes time to go to the table, it's almost like the paradox where like women like the bad guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All they say, oh, we want a good guy. We want to, but then when it comes time, you're like, I don't know. He's got a good job. He's like, he's nice to me.
Right.
He's nice to the kids. The bills are paid on time. And then they leave that guy for like a guy in a motorcycle gang. It's the same thing, honestly, in NFL terms.
Yeah.
Or they roll over the guy in the Izod shirt.
Right. Nice guys finish last, especially in negotiations.
Y'all own Izod? Do y'all own some Izod shirts?
I don't have any.
Mm-mm. None of that IZ. And if you're the Commanders, you've got bigger issues staring you in the face.
Well, I'll talk to you about that.
Let's hear about it. You got to sign this guy, get that out of the way so you can deal with the Commander-in-Chief.
The one thing, and Nolan made this point is Adam Peters, where'd he come from? He came from San Francisco, right? Noel?
Yeah.
And what they just go through,
Right. Yeah,
and he wasn't there during it, but he's looking at his friends paying Brandon Ayuk at 27 years old, not apples to apples, right?
Right.
And then then all those things Jerry Jones was talking about coming to fruition. Mm-hmm. So anyways, yeah, the thing you were alluding to is speaking of the Commanders, now I know some people are gonna hate me for what I'm about to say. Some of y'all are going to hate me for what I'm about to say. Just know that even if you hate me, I don't hate you. I don't hate you. Disagreement is okay. But Shane Gillis nailed the Trump thing the other day. He really did. He nailed it. He doesn't know dick about sports. He fucking he couldn't make a bucket on an 8-foot basket.
You want to talk to the president of soccer?
I mean, he doesn't have an athletic bone in his body, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't know sports. But his whole life, I feel like he's been chasing acceptance through sports, like the alpha male acceptance, right? Like, which he's pulled off because, like, somehow the biggest alpha males on the planet, like, that fight each other for a living, they love him, right? Like that's why he doesn't know dick about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? He doesn't know anything about grappling. He never watched anybody fight in a gi in the 90s. He wasn't watching The Ultimate Fighter, but if it helps, he'll have a fucking UFC match at his house, at the White House. So, like, he's been chasing this sports thing for a long time. Like, I just want to remind you, and politics and sports do not mix, right? Like, what, right? I don't do that. I'm not a politics and sports guy, right? I'm not. If you listen to the podcast, I don't bring it up, right? Like, you know where my political leanings are, right? Like, I'm leaning away from whatever this is we're doing, okay? Whatever this is we're doing. And I'm not just talking about one side of the aisle, but one side of the aisle is a little bit more ridiculous to me. All right? By a little bit of a margin, okay? And as a background, over the course of this podcast, I don't talk about politics because I know it bothers y'all. Like, I wouldn't want to, if I was listening to this podcast, I would want you, the podcaster, me in this case, to respect the listener enough to assume that the listener is reading the fucking news. I don't need to be Brett Baer or fucking or Brooke Baldwin or fucking Jake Tapper or any of these people. Like, I don't need to be Wolf Blitzer. You want to know who's blitzing the A-gap. You don't want me to be Wolf Blitzer, right? So I stay out of that shit, right? Because as a listener, like, even with everything I might have said in the past and the things that I've been involved in, you don't care. Like, I'm not swaying anybody. If there's anything I noticed about the last 10 years, it's that motherfuckers are dug in. So there's really no point in me telling you how I feel unless I feel like it or unless politics comes over into my world. And that's what happened. So I get the pass today. I've been waiting. I've been like, I wish you would do something. I wish you would try to do sports Trump so I can talk about you for 10 minutes at the end of one of my podcasts. So he's tweeting through it. That's what's going on right now. And I might lose some fans here, but I just want to remind you of something. Just, this is me, Big J journalism, sports podcaster. I'm the guy that when Joe Biden wanted to come on his podcast said, no, thank you, Joe Biden. This is a sports podcast. We're not carrying politicians' water on this show. But, like, honestly, this Washington Redskins thing, it's like out of a movie. No, it's not out of a movie. Because, like, let me tell you, I on the surface, it's pretty easy for me to see what the difference is between, like, the Chiefs and the Blackhawks, right? Or, like, the Braves. It's pretty easy to see the difference between those three franchises' mascots that I just named and, like, the Indians and that logo that is basically like Native American blackface and the Redskins, which just is kind of a shitty thing, right? Like, it's kind of a shitty thing. I'm not sitting here acting like I'm, like, incensed or it hurt my feelings or it ever even occurred to me as a fucking 14-year-old growing up in Virginia. Like, I was just like, oh, all my friends like this shitty football team, right? Panthers fan myself. But if it bothers somebody and it's not the right thing, I could give a fuck less. Like, I'm not married to it, so just take it. Like, I'm a white guy. I got a lot going for me. Don't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, life's pretty easy for me. I don't feel persecuted because the NFL or like a private business decided to, under scrutiny, be like, hey, we can't call our team the Redskins anymore. Like, that doesn't bother me that much. And I don't think it's a slippery slope because in the last fucking 5 years, it hasn't been like it hasn't been like every – I mean, I just named 3 Native American teams that didn't lose their mascot or their brand. Okay, so it's not some slippery slope thing. Everything's a culture war now. It's just the way it is, dude. And Trump's trying to bring the culture war to football, demanding that Josh Harris, who actually, I think, doubled down on the fact that they were going to keep the name the way it was. And I don't think it's the best name out there at all. Like, I like the football team better, right? Josh Harris, who bought the team, was like, hey, we're not going back to the Redskins. We like this name. We're going forward with it. He hadn't said anything since Trump said over the weekend that, in essence, he's considering placing restrictions on the team. I don't even know what that means, or not letting them move into that brand new stadium that I think was deeded to the District of Columbia. Like, it's no longer the U.S. government's land, but like, I guess Trump is like, I'm going to take that back if you don't change the name of the team back to the Redskins. Bullshit. It's just a fucking culture war. It's a culture war. People are falling for it. If you really want that team name back because of nostalgia or whatever, like, all right, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying I've thought it through and I don't care, right? And you could cite some self-reported telephone poll where they call 500 people that say they're Native American, and somehow like 90% of them are not offended. But the whole point is, like, and by the way, there was a poll that was more surgical a few years later, and it was more split. If they were to say, hey, if they were able to reliably poll every Native American person in the country and say, do you want this name to go back to the Redskins? And whatever we decided was the threshold for that poll enacting change, like, and we got there and the name went back, I'd say, oh, great. Whatever. I'm not going to sit there and watch TV and be incensed about the name. It's not for me to be offended about. It's up to a population of people that, quite frankly, like, I don't run into a lot. It's just a culture war, and it's bullshit. And he literally can't do that. He can't do that. That's not what presidents are supposed to do. The presidents aren't supposed to boss around private businesses. I thought you wanted small government. That's like Andre the Giant sized government. That's like Brazil shit. That's like soccer country shit. This is the type of stuff that happens in countries where they, like, after the guy misses a penalty kick and they lose the game, like, there's 2 guys waiting to unalive him in his compound because all the soccer players have to live behind like gates and shit because that's the way it is in those countries. Is that the kind of country we live in? Where the president's like meddling in professional sports, like in Russia, where they're like they let Putin play hockey on like the pro teams. Reed, you know, I brought that up before, where they're like, yeah, Putin, good, you can play, and he's terrible. Like, it's just real dictatory, man. And honestly, if you really think this is gonna happen, like if he's going to be able to do anything about this fucking thing, just in principle, right? I'm all for, hey, everybody keeps claiming they don't care about it. I don't have any Native American friends, but I read a poll, 500 self-reported Native Americans, not offended. If you want to change the name back, find every Native American person in America. Let's agree on what percentage would be enough and do the poll. Like, I know you'll tell me that can't happen, but do the fucking poll. Otherwise, like, it's really just not for the president to do. That's the point. And more than him playing like he's wanting to get involved in sports. He's got a UFC. He tried to buy the Colts in 1981. Then he bought the New Jersey Generals, and then Rozelle stiff-armed him. And then he tried to sue the NFL for monopoly in the fall, and the courts were like, yeah, here's $1, literally, USFL. And the league folded. right? Like, so he's just a disaster everywhere he goes. In 2014, he tried to buy the Bills. This is classic. The tweet was, "Wow, at NFL. Ratings are down big league. Glad I didn't get the Bills. Rather be lucky than good." Fuck, man, you really dodged a bullet. This NFL thing is just, it's a sinking ship. There's no money in it. There's no money in it. I make way too much money to do this for a living. The sport must be popular. Seriously. Tried to buy the Bills. Really glad that didn't go through. So anyways, he's got an obsession with sports. He thinks sports are a way that he can, at this point, like, it's a culture war thing, but he also wants to be able to, like, he wants to get involved in the sports. I think Richard Nixon called a play back in the day. I think we learned that in one of our podcasts that Richard Nixon phoned in a football play. But this is really honestly just him tweeting through a bad tweet. To put it in terms that some people might understand, obviously him reversing course on the list of people that were touching little kids has gone poorly for him. And for whatever reason, all of a sudden that list isn't showing up. I mean, he's going to get you the Epstein report, right? Like, it's the report that he's talking about giving, which probably is not even going to get released. That's up to the courts. He knows that's not coming out, right? So this is his playbook. Hey, I'm going to dangle you something that I know is never going to happen. And then if I do something fucked up enough, or if I'm doing something fucked up enough, I'm going to make enough news to bury it. That's tweeting through it. That's like the classic, like, oh, I just did the worst tweet of the year for whatever reason. And now I'm just going to be like, hey, has anybody ever ranked Pearl Jam songs? Like, and you just try to get the engagement up. So just bury the last tweet you had, right? That's what he's doing. So number one, I don't think he can do this. Number two, I don't think he should be able to do this. This is America, not fucking Brazil, Number three, it's just a distraction. Here's another great tweet from our commander-in-chief. Indians are being treated very unfairly. Make Indians great again. MIGA. What is going on right now in this motherfucker, huh?
You brought up Richard Nixon. As that story goes, George Allen, the coach of Washington Redskins at the time, it was the first time in 25 years they were in the playoff. He received a phone call from Nixon on the eve of the game and ultimately used the president's suggestion for an end around against the 49ers. The play lost 13 yards.
Presidents should stay out of football. Just fucking stick to, all these wars that we're fighting and your weaponization of ICE and all the other things. Like, don't you have enough going on that you don't need to tell owners of sports teams what to do, bro? This is America, not a third world country. I do want to say this. Go watch the Theo Von Bernie Sanders interview. It's a great conversation. And two guys that you would assume are so diametrically opposed. What's the term in American politics where it's just basically a circle? The horseshoe theory. I felt like that was on display when Bernie Sanders and Theo Von were. And Theo Von, by the way, since we're talking about comedians, back to the Shane Gillis thing, everybody's mad at Shane Gillis right now because of his monologue at the ESPYs. Like, they're mad about his WNBA jokes. You know who you should be mad at if you care about the WNBA? Not the fucking comedian. Be mad at Kelsey Plum. Did you hear that?
It was wild. And even Sabrina Ionescu was like, yo, you said that?
If you watch that video with no sound, you know right when it happened. Because Sabrina Ionescu was like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You talk about, like, making me feel better about our labor negotiations. Like, yeah, let's do that. Let's divide and conquer ourselves. I think what sucks about today is that, like, we talked about a bunch of sports, but no sports. You know what I'm saying? We talked about a ton of sports without talking about the sports. The best part of sports is the sports. So if our unions could get their shit together, if the president could stay out of it and like mind your business, if we stopped adhering to harmful stereotypes about the ages of wide receivers, then sports would be a lot more fun. I want to get back to talking about sports. This doesn't feel real sportsy. I feel dirty. I feel like I need to take a shower after this fucking podcast. You know what I mean? I want to get back to talking about like games and stunts. You know, who's running outside zone? Well, right? Like, I don't want to talk about Trump. Some people are going to be mad at me. They're going to say, oh, Chris talked about Trump today. Trump talked about us. Stay out of it, player. Athletes talking over here.
We have a football game in 10 days.
Got a football game in 10 days. And thank goodness we got the PA stuff transpired before the Hall of Fame game just rendered it obsolete news. So,
Y'all take care.
take care.